It was a gloomy morning, and the students of Professor Arjun's economics class were unusually quiet. News headlines about inflation, debt crises, and rising prices had everyone worried. The professor smiled gently and said, "Let's take a journey through time to understand why the world feels uncertain, and how money itself has evolved." He picked up an old gold coin and a crisp note. "Thousands of years ago," he began, "people didn't have coins or paper. They exchanged goods directly: grain for cloth, milk for pottery. That was called barter trade. But barter was difficult because both sides had to want what the other had. To make things easier," he continued, "people started using precious metals like gold and silver. They were rare, shiny, and valuable everywhere. That was the beginning of money with real value. As time passed, carrying gold became unsafe. So governments issued paper money. Each note promised a certain amount of gold in the bank. This was called the gold standard. People trusted paper because it was backed by gold," the professor explained. "You could exchange a note for real gold anytime." After World War II, the US dollar became the center of the world's economy because America had the most gold and the strongest economy. In 1944, countries agreed to trade using dollars, believing it was as good as gold. The world's trust shifted to the US dollar. But in 1971, the US stopped linking its money to gold, a moment called the end of the gold standard. From then on, money was no longer tied to gold, only to trust in governments and economies. This kind of money is called fiat money, valuable because people believe in it. For many decades, people continued to trust the dollar because the US economy was stable. But over time, governments around the world started printing more money to deal with debt and crises. Prices went up. This was inflation. When prices rise faster than savings grow, the professor said, even your bank account gives a negative return. You lose purchasing power. He paused and added, "That's why during uncertain times, people say cash is king. When markets crash, like in 2008, or during the pandemic, property values fall, stocks drop, and risky assets lose value. But cash gives flexibility. You can buy when prices are low or survive without debt. Cash," he said, "gives you power in panic, the power to act calmly. However," he reminded, "holding too much cash for too long also hurts, because inflation slowly eats its value. So the lesson," he smiled, "is balance: stay liquid enough to handle crises, but also invest wisely for growth." Then, Professor Arjun wrote a single word on the board: trust. "Money has always been built on trust," he said. "First, we trusted gold. Then, we trusted the US dollar. But as we've seen, even trust can fade when printing increases, inflation rises, or one country controls the world's financial system." He looked at his students and continued, "This is where Bitcoin enters the story. Created in 2009, right after the financial crisis, Bitcoin was designed to be decentralized, meaning no government, bank, or company controls it. Instead, it runs on a public network of thousands of computers called the blockchain, where every transaction is recorded transparently. Unlike fiat money," he explained, "no one can simply print more Bitcoin. Only 21 million will ever exist, that's it. It's limited, like digital gold." The students listened carefully. "That's why many people see Bitcoin as the potential next form of money," the professor continued. "It's borderless, independent, and cannot be controlled or censored by any single nation. Even during sanctions or currency crises, it continues to work globally. In a world where trust in traditional systems is weakening, Bitcoin represents trust in code, not in politics." He ended the lecture with a thought. "Gold taught us about value. Dollars taught us about trust. Crisis taught us that sometimes cash is king. And Bitcoin reminds us that the future of money may not lie in any country, but in a decentralized system people can trust together." As the students left the room, the clouds outside began to clear, and so did their understanding of what truly gives money its power: Not just paper or metal, but trust, balance, and freedom.